Kintsugi is the Japanese art of repairing broken pottery by mending the areas of breakage with lacquer dusted with powdered gold. As a philosophy, it treats the breakage and repair as part of the history of an object, rather than something to disguise. Which reminds me, somebody broke the world. But I don't see why the apocalypse has to be a bad thing. Oh sure, the world is slowly spiraling into a cesspool of madness and death. Monsters roam the land, and the few sane people remaining proves that sanity and trustworthiness is not mutually inclusive. But look at that sky. It proves that even something broken can be beautiful. Yes, this world would probably be classified as a fixer-upper, but we can take this as an opportunity. In times of great crisis and need, people's hunger for a purpose grow exponentially, and as long as there's a demand, I'm here to deliver. The first steps on our journey to bring back meaning to the lands between is picking our starting character. Truthfully, while all the classes have their appeal, our choice has already been made. I am the prophet of the God King Miyazaki, off to spread the good word through thoughtful conversation and a reasonable amount of violence. I wake up in a graveyard with no memory of how I got here, but in the distance I see a singular golden tree, its muted glow begging for me to approach. This would be the true beginning of my journey, but first I decide to look back and go through the Cave of Knowledge. Here I would acquire the skills needed to survive my sacred quest, or at least to keep death to a minimum. As I proceed, I quickly encounter the first other soul of my journey. I do my best to engage this man in conversation, but after repeated failures, I realize that his mind is gone. Now, some people consider the mutilation of the mentally impaired to be unethical. But this is what he gets for ignoring the good word of our God King. Lucky for us, there will be other opportunities. Several others, in fact, in rapid succession, although they all end the same way. It all accumulates in one of the most hardcore boss fights in FromSoft history. Epic. Once armed with cave knowledge, I make my way back to the exit, both confident and excited to spread the good word. The first real breath of air feels liberating. No more breathing in the corpse fumes of graves that I may or may not have desecrated. The land stretches far in every direction, practically begging for me to touch the horizon. But a thin gold trail catches my eye, and I take it as a sign of our God King and follow. The path forward is pretty clear. We need to break into the castle, murder the guards, and hand out pamphlets so that they can finally all accept Miyazaki into their hearts. However, before I can progress, I need to get past the love child of Gyobu Matataka Uniwa and Havel. But this is fine. I have faith, a warrior spirit, and a God King on my side. But I decide that discretion is the better part of valor, and that this is not the time for bloodshed, and make my way around. My efforts are rewarded as I find the ruins of a church inhabited by Santa Claus, who decided that giving away toys was not the most efficient path to wealth. Instead, he became an arms dealer. Considering the fact that he has access to the ultimate distribution system and slave labor, I think he's set to make a killing. I continue along the trail, heading north, invade this guy's personal space to establish dominance, and arrive at an enemy encampment. These heavily guarded areas tend to have some pretty shiny treasure, and everything valuable are the property of the Miyazaki and of course his prophet. Admittedly, my first few attempts at conquest fails. Then I remember, I got faith on my side. After successfully feeding my enemies with a giant bowl of cheese, I lay claim to their rewards. The main one being this helm, modeled after some of the most powerful entities of the known realm, and I quickly decide that I will adopt this visage as the face of prophecy. After resting for a bit, I am ambushed by a woman who talks about fingering, then promptly gives me a horse, goat thing, which I name Greg. Her purpose in the game is to allow me to gain strength by feeding her the life force of my slain enemies, which definitely will not motivate me to commit multiple war crimes like some macro level serial killer. I know that my ultimate fate lies within the castle, but with Greg on my side I can start exploring this vast land. His powerful jump abilities lets me get to places where I would never have gotten, as well as giving me anal bleeding. If you want to be a prophet, then you must be ready to shed some blood for the cause. Our adventures are numerous. We visit the jelly people, fight a dragon, discover sentient anal beads, and accidentally drown. And let me tell you that nothing makes a bond between a horse-goat thing and a man stronger than slow and excruciating suffocation. During our travels, I also found a shield that somebody decided to glue a snake to. This shield would come in handy a little later, as I would be assaulted by a heretical red man, that's not racist by the way, who most certainly hates the Miyazaki. Lucky for me, I was rescued by a man with a big hat and a bigger katana. Now, it might sound a little counterintuitive, but as a reward for helping me survive, I decide to kill him. Mostly to ensure that he will be guaranteed a seat next to our Heavenly Father, but also because he refused to hand over any loot that he potentially had. Turns out he didn't have any. Littered across the map, we find dungeons. By doing some elementary horse parkour, I managed to get access to this one. My reward? A fight to the death with Pumpkinhead. A fearsome foe indeed. Luckily though, I had assistance in the form of a soul I had earlier unburdened of their freedom. And then I find my wife. So that's where I put her. Another instance where my loyal servant, whom I had pressed into mandatory companionship, came in handy was the fight with the Grave Warden. I sit back, relax, and let my soul slave expend every bit of his dwindling strength to soften this guy up. And then I sorta wait around for a bit.
Bruh.
I finally make my way into the castle. I'm a little late due to the fact that I was scouring the countryside for trinkets and baubles, but I'm a prophet, not a scientist. I don't keep track of time. The main baddie defending this keep is named Margit, a heretic with a bad case of face horns. If I am to convert this entire area to Miyazakism, I have to go through him. And so I do. I defeated my enemy first try, but my moment of glory soon turned to despair. Yes, I had broken all defenses, routed the guards, and slaughtered their leader. But also, I had forgotten to bring the pamphlets. In order to atone for my sins, I decided to self-isolate. Previously during my travels, I had identified this cave, and it seemed like the perfect place for somebody as low as me. Something I did not account for, however, was the fact that the cave was already inhabited by a local tribe of demi-humans. Setting aside the somewhat problematic name, I could see much potential in these primitive people. I did not want to eradicate them, not everyone at least, but rather turn them towards the light and the Miyazaki. So what does one do when you want to take over a tribe of demi-humans? Well, prison rules, bitch. I walk up to the largest and strongest of the creatures and use every tool of violence in my disposal to make an example of him. And his wife. And some of the smaller ones as well. And with that, my duty as a prophet is complete. I successfully converted 2 demi-humans to our religion. Yes, I saved them, but in turn, these primitive creatures also saved me. I may have slaughtered their friends and family, but I will use this blood to mend my broken promise to the Miyazaki. Just like the Japanese art of kintsugi. Well then, you made it this far. I appreciate that. Why not become a part of the family and subscribe? And if you think this video had far too much quality and would prefer some more mentally impaired shenanigans, you should consider following both my stream and my second channel. You can find them in the description. I'm not gonna say much more, this is classic end-screen stuff, you know what to do. But I want to leave you with this. I want you to remember that I love you in that terrible, terrible way that only I can love you. Have a good one, everybody.